up, swashbucklers? You're listening to Under the Crossbones, episode number 101. My name is Phil Johnson. I'm your host for the show. Thank you once again for tuning in. Thanks for telling your friends. Thanks for leaving those reviews on iTunes and other places. It's all good, and you're a nice person for doing it. That's what I think. I don't care what anybody else says about you. I think you're a good person. All right? Yeah. Episode 101. Fun fact about the number 101. It is, of course, the number of Dalmatian puppies needed to make a fur coat. So there you go. My guests on the show today, Kate Larsen and Shuhe Hawkins of Sails Winery and the Portland Pirate Festival. I was cruising through Portland recently on some tour dates and had the opportunity to visit their fantastic winery in the hills, the mountains above Portland that I didn't even know were there. I've been to Portland, the city, lots of times. Usually in the downtown portion, where I'm buying donuts at Voodoo Donuts. But I'd never been up in the hills, and they have these skinny, tiny little roads, and they gave me the address, and I was like, oh man, I can't, I have a small car. Wasn't even sure my car was going to fit. So, but they have beautiful property up there, and the winery is lovely. I'm not a wine person, I don't drink, but the place is wonderful. So we sat in their kitchen, and we yacked it up, talking pirate stuff, and that's what you're going to hear today. And they have some amazing stories, not only about the Portland Pirate Festival and the pirate music that they do, but also with the ship that they had a shipwreck in. And there's harrowing stories in this interview, like just stuff that makes me never want to go on a ship again. But it's going to be a really good interview, and you are going to enjoy it. And it's live, so it's there's a different vibe to it than the ones that I record online with other people and stuff. So it's fun. You're going to dig it. I will be doing a little bit of gigging around. Tuesday, August the 1st, I will be at the Cheroot Lounge in Modesto. Thursday through Saturday, August 10 to 12, I will be at Looney's in Colorado Springs, featuring for the fantastic Kristen Key. Yeah, we're going to double up with the guitar comics that night, man. It's going to be great. I'm going to put a video of hers in the show notes for this episode, so you can check her stuff out. I just saw a great video of hers this morning. That's really funny. And then Wednesday, August 23rd, I will be at the headlining at the Wind River Casino in Redding, California. I will probably pick up a few more dates in August around those other things, but they're not there yet, just because I have not had the time to sit down and send out booking emails, which is ridiculous because when I don't ask, I don't work. That's the way it is. Also, November 3rd and 4th, coming out to see you guys in Orlando, Florida, headlining at the Bonkers Comedy Club out there. So put that on your calendar. Also looking to book dates around it if you're interested in doing a house concert or anything like that. Anyway, we're going to get to this interview pretty quick. If you are enjoying the show and you would like to join us over on Facebook, where we're doing all sorts of fun things, go over to facebook.com/underthecrossbones. On Twitter, we're at Under Crossbones. No the, and that one's too long for Twitter. And make sure that you're subscribed to the show on iTunes, Stitcher, Slacker, Google Play, Podcast Addict, whatever your favorite podcatcher of choice is. And, of course, you'll be able to get all the show notes for this show, links, videos, music, all sorts of things at underthecrossbones.com/101. If you would like to help support the show and help me not spend as much money doing the show as I normally do, you can go to underthecrossbones.com/support. There's a little PayPal box right there. Drop whatever amount you think is appropriate into that box, and it will come to me, and I will spend it on the show. There's an Amazon banner there. Click that little Amazon banner and buy yourself something nice. Buy yourself something adorable if you're a girl, or super awesome if you're a dude. And Amazon kicks me back a few shekels, and that is helpful as well. If you want to be a sponsor of the show, that's cheap and easy. Again, just go to underthecrossbones.com/support and hit me up from there. We'll get you all taken care of. All right, so here we go. We're gonna talk. Harrowing tales are coming up. Harrowing, just like, ooh, they were scary to listen to. All right, here we go. We're gonna listen to our interview with Kate Larsen and Shuhe Hawkins of Sails Winery and the Portland Pirate Festival. Enjoy. So, first of all, why don't you introduce yourselves to the listeners?
I'm Kate Larsen, otherwise known as Margot la Méchante de Marseille.
I'm Shuhe Hawkins, otherwise known as Luke, the lucky by day, the lusty by night.
I like how, Kate, you went for like huge, complicated name. Shuhe, you're like, Luke is good. Yeah.
The lucky is the important part.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, I'm the French wench, so.
She is at that.
But now,
Nice.
I used to be just the wench, but now I'm like the commander, so.
Oh, okay. I know just enough French to be dangerous. I took 3.5 years in high school, and now I just pretty much have enough to irritate my girlfriend. That's as far as it gets, because she took enough and doesn't remember it either, so we just irritate each other with it. Do you actually speak French?
I do. I lived in France for about a year and a half.
Oh, interesting.
I tried to stay longer, but I was a student, so I tried to stay as long as possible.
Yeah.
Getting paid for by your parents to live in France is pretty good.
Yeah,
so.
You can't beat that. You can't beat that. How long? Which part of France were you living in?
In the south of France.
Oh.
A town called Aix-en-Provence.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'm from the south, so I'm sure I speak French with an American Southern accent. But it's when I get drunk, I'm much better.
It probably helps.
That's great. Okay, so let's dive in a little bit here. Tell me about the various projects. We're sitting here in your fantastic winery in the middle of what I'm told is Portland. Does not resemble Portland because we're up in the mountains with skinny, tiny little roads, and it's beautiful up here. So, and then we have the music that you handed me. Mm-hmm. So we have to talk about that, and then there's also the festival, and among other things that we'll get into as well. So
starting from now, or going way back and see how this all began.
Let's go back to where it all began. So where do you guys come from?
The beginning.
I'm from Virginia.
Okay.
And Shuhe's from...
I grew up in Los Angeles.
Los Angeles.
And grew up into leaving home, 19.
Uh-huh.
Made my way up to Northern California, and gravity took me north. I've ended up in various places, and then finally Portland. Been here for 20-some-odd years. Always dreamed of being a pirate since I was a little kid.
Uh-huh.
And somehow I ended up being a pirate.
Yeah. Now, what brought you from L.A. to the Bay Area first?
Well, I went to actually Humboldt County to go to school, ostensibly.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, that didn't work out so great. Ended up in I was in Arcata, California,
Yep.
and then joined the California Conservation Corps for a time. Ended up in Ashland, Oregon, and then north to Portland.
Okay.
From there, yeah, and that's
all places I've driven through this week.
Yeah, I'm sure. I've driven through them many times. Yeah, so that's just the gravity of it. But as far as falling north,
so were you always on sort of a, because we were talking before we turned the recorder on about you were doing puppetry and things like that. Were you always on sort of a arts theatrical sort of?
Yeah, I was I've been an actor since a small child.
Okay.
When they told me I couldn't be a pirate when I was a kid. I said, well, then I'll be an actor because then I can act like a pirate.
Sure.
And all of the other things too. And so, yeah, it was, my track has always been acting, performing, music as well.
Okay.
So, yeah, over the course of my pursuits, I got away from that for a while when I was getting out of LA, but ended up in Portland, basically seeking a living entirely in entertainment one way or another.
Okay.
And that led to working behind the scenes, doing stage and tech, and doing being on stage, being in front of the camera, behind the camera, and eventually to event production and pirates.
Okay, interesting. Okay, Kate, so you come from Virginia.
From Virginia. Born in Canada, but I grew up in Virginia. We have a farm in Virginia, and my father lived in New York City.
Uh-huh.
My mother lived in Virginia.
Okay.
So I was sort of city girl, country girl, city girl, country girl. But
Sort of the best of both worlds that way.
yeah. I guess, I worked on cruise ships for a lot of years as a singer.
Okay.
And so I think that somehow, it was always the sea that sort of brought me around to being now a pirate.
Okay, interesting.
As an older broad now. But I always loved the ocean and the sea. And even though it was a cruise ship, you didn't feel like you were on a tall ship exactly.
Sure.
So,
how did you get into cruise ship singing?
Gosh. I was always playing music since I was really young, just working in bars, and even in high school, I had a duo and did a lot of stage work. So I think it was just a way for me to get paid to travel and still sing.
Okay.
So I'd gone on a lot of cruises with my family as a kid.
Oh,
so it was kind of a dream.
Yeah.
Which is funny now because it's not so dreamy anymore.
I imagine that's a world that gets old pretty quick.
Well, and those were the days of kind of we had ocean liners, and they were beautiful, and they were a lot smaller.
Yeah.
they weren't these huge things where you get lost and
Right.
people get murdered and, you lose people entirely. So
Yeah, they're pretty amazing. I've taken one cruise with my girlfriend. She hated it. She was seasick the entire time.
Oh, well, that's
I bought
why.
some art I probably shouldn't have bought that's still hanging in my office, and we gained a lot of weight, and that was
Yeah,
pretty much
it's
it.
a lot of food.
Eating and sleeping and laying around on the deck. Maybe jump in the pool, get back out.
Right.
It's a lot
Eat
of
some
food.
more.
Yeah.
Well, my first experience, though, I was 19 when I got on my first ship, and it was K-Line's Hellenic Cruises in the Greek islands. It was family run, really small. And I found out early on, I was on with two girls from Switzerland. We were the hostesses / entertainers. We were everything. And I found out early on that the captain chooses one girl each year to be his mistress, apparently. And we were not allowed to leave the ship until I would acquiesce. So we had to sneak off with all the passengers, every passenger was Japanese. So we were towering above them. We had to sneak off with all the Japanese tourists.
Three blondes. Three tall blondes.
And call our mothers crying on the phone, They never paid us. We were there for a month. No pay. So we'd run out of money. Luckily, we had the emergency credit card that our parents had given us. So you'd think I would never have done it again. But after that, I got an agent and did it the legit way and got on legit cruise ships. And
Strange. So then how do you end up here in Portland?
I married the band leader on one of the ships, and he was from Portland. So ended up out here. We actually came across and went and worked in Hawaii for 5 years.
Oh, okay.
And just stopped in Portland briefly. But he always wanted to come back here to finish school. So after 5 years singing and working conventions and playing music in Hawaii on the islands, we moved back to Portland, supposedly temporarily, so he could just finish school. And I'm still stuck here 30-something years later. So
stuck? Hey.
Yeah.
I'm looking outside saying, this is all right. How can you be stuck here?
We divorced, but we were still really close friends. And he passed away a couple of years ago. We have 2 kids, and Shuhe became friends with him too. And so.
Nice.
Yeah.
So then it sounds like probably the musical part of things came first. And essentially, that would be the easiest thing to start.
Right. Well, I was also an actress, so that's how Shuhe and I met.
Oh, okay.
We were on stage with the Portland Christmas Revels show, which is a huge show, a cast of 1,000. I don't know.
1,000.
And he was one of the few main actors in it, and I was singing.
What kind of show is that? Christmas.
It's a show that happens all over the country. There's, I think, 13 cities that have revels that happen annually around Christmas.
Revels with a V, not a B, right?
Revels.
Oh, revels, okay.
Revelry,
Yes.
the revels.
Christmas Revels, way different show.
It originated in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and the very first dragon was Dustin Hoffman.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. So this is one of the cities that does the revels every year. They change scripts from year to year. It's a very cool kind of non-Christmas holiday show, more based around the solstice. Lots of music and lots of just like festivities, like winter celebrations that are mostly like specifically like one culture or another. Okay. So it's like you're not your typical Christmas carols all the way around.
Right.
It's fun to be involved with, but
dancing and musicians and huge chorus of singers and actors are in it, and it's really really fun. It's a great family tradition to get involved with. My kids were in it as well at the time.
Oh, neat.
Yeah. One of the other performers that year, Steve Black, was kind of invited each of us individually to become pirates.
Oh, okay.
Over the summer, he said, "I've got this pirate group. We do Ren fairs. You want to come out and play pirate in the summer? We need to add some, theatrical prowess to the mix of the reenactors, as it were." Okay. So I guess we both kind of said yes, but we had also kind of sparked an interest along the way. Ended up kind of just diving into this pirate realm that summer. Probably 3 gigs through the summer, a couple of practices with the crew, firing cannons, and we put together a sword fight. The first sword fight the crew had in their repertoire. So we had our lover spat every time we did shows, and in time, I mean, in a relatively short amount of time, largely because of Kate having musical experience, we started to do music. And that was requested by a couple of events who were like, well, can you guys do a little stage show of some kind? And everyone's like, oh, no. And Steve was very theatrical. He's a very theatrical person, also sings, does shanties, but he didn't have a lot of support in that realm. So
He needed more actors instead of
performer types rather than
instead of SEA guys. That and I think my kids were Irish dancers at the time, and my son was a champion Irish dancer, so we made him. He was just little.
We just made them.
We'd put a board down at our encampments and make him dance. And
like, what do you call it? Forced men? They were
forced. My children were forced.
I totally get that because that is. I mean, when I was a kid, like I hated doing recitals or the reason I don't play Christmas music anymore is because of those play for the family childhood dramas.
That's the worst.
And so
when you have to play for your family, it's the worst.
Oh yeah, totally. And so my brother and I both swore off Christmas music for that reason. I've since put out Christmas singles, but the worst, most horrible Christmas singles you will ever hear. Things that you'll never hear them in the grocery store. That's for sure. But so I totally understand that sort of forced performance thing. Now I think I'm just reliving the childhood traumas on stage every night. I think it's Freudian because now I love it. But
we've managed to keep one of the kids, her oldest, Signe, in the band. She's our
still
fiddle
in the
player.
band.
And
nice.
But my son hates pirates. So.
He won't do it. He'll make videos and stuff. He's he works behind the camera. But he's sworn off performing.
Well, that's right. He has shot our music videos. But,
I think that's the greatest way to rebel is I don't like pirates.
How can you not like pirates?
By high school, it was a little embarrassing, and probably actually middle school was even more embarrassing.
But he was into it when he was middle school. He enjoyed the attention that came from it.
Right. Well, after years of working Ren fairs and dragging the kids around and making them dance, and they used to make some money though, more than we did. They would go around with that little board when he was only 7, and my daughter was 9 and a half, and she would they would put out a hat and make good money. She would play fiddle badly. But then we started actually putting on the festival, which we did for 7 years. Portland Pirate Festival. That first year we thought, maybe we'll get 2,000 people if we're lucky. Mm-hmm. And we were so unprepared. We had 10,000 people at the gate.
More than 10,000 people.
Wow.
One day.
We had no place to put the money. So we put a little tent, a canvas tent on the
cannon field
in the sand on the beach in St. John's.
So when they were doing deposits, they had to run through the cannon fire into this little tent in the middle. That was kind of the target.
Too.
It was kind of the target for the cannons. They'd shoot the tent. Don't shoot the tent.
We had one food vendor, Salvador Mali's,
one big
doing
one,
tamales,
and then we
and
had
they ran
other
out.
small food vendors that just did snow cones and little. We had pronto pups, so we had some corn dogs.
Right. It was just the Pirates of the Caribbean movies that were coming out at the same time for the first time, and it was just that was 2006. So it was just a craze. There were so many people came, and they still had a great time, even though we ran out of everything. But St. John's was thrilled because everybody was in all the restaurants and.
So what was the decision process where you said, okay, we're playing this pirate music, we're doing the Ren Fair thing. Let's put on our own festival. Outside of the pirate movies, what was
my fault?
Process?
Actually, I can couch it a little bit in Steve Black, the same one who invited us into the whole situation. There was a previous one-day Festival de Piratas, it was called, which was a grown-up opportunity for pirate celebrations because so many tend to be family-oriented.
Yeah.
And so it was in a bar and, Captain Bog and Salty, the greatest pirate band of all time.
Have you heard of them?
They had the
Sharky and Bones now for Disney.
They had this once-a-year festival that was a one-night just at some pub making pirate music with a couple of different bands. And so, but one time he said to me, the last one that they did, I think, Steve said to me, man, we should just do a full-on festival. And I was like, that's a cool idea. So I was like, yes. And so I talked to Kate, and then with Steve in the mix of there, we talked to Kevin and Lauren from Captain Bog and Salty. And we all, the first year, came in as partners, 5 partners, and we took a year and a half to put the festival together. We were going to do it that next, we met in November, and we were going to do it the next September, but I think we put it off until the next year. We got together in 04, the first time in November.
We still weren't ready.
We put it on, a year and a half later, almost 2 years later in 16, right?
Yeah.
No, that's wrong.
No.
In 06.
No, 06, 2006.
I was like, hey, that's wrong.
Yeah, math. It's overrated.
So it just really was just a thing, and we were just kind of like everything we tend to do. We don't kind of mess around, and we usually do something we don't know what we're doing.
Well, one partner got cold feet before we even opened the gates the first year, and dropped out.
dropped out.
Then
So
we were
ended up 4
4.
partners.
And then we were 3 a couple of years later, and then we were just the 2 of us.
For the last 3-4 years of the festival.
That is an insane amount of work for 2 people.
It is.
Where were you doing it?
St. John's in Portland, in Cathedral Park,
okay.
under the St. John's
that was
Bridge.
the first 5 years. The last 2 years we did in St. Helens.
Yeah, we moved it down
Oregon.
to St. Helens.
Yeah.
So it sounds like it was extremely successful, at least that first year. And
We had mostly good years, but there was
A couple of doozies.
the last year in Portland was torrential
Killer.
rains. I mean,
2010.
like Noah's flood kind of rains. It was just so we still amazingly got
Well, we broke even, but-
12,000 people, but in Portland it was so expensive to put on that even 12,000 people and relying on tickets at the gate, it was really tight to pay for it, and so that's why we moved to St. Helens because.
Well, the city of Portland did some interesting things that all along the way, but particularly that last year, a couple of just things you're just like, I don't know. We can't work with you guys. This is
the bridge,
how do you do
the
that
Cathedral
to
Park
us?
Bridge was falling apart, and they didn't tell us, and we worried that huge things were going to fall on people's heads, and you know.
my gosh,
We closed off a big section of right in the middle of our layout after
our main
we've
stage was
done our
supposed
whole
to go.
ground plan, like right in front of the main stage. Just like in this couple weeks before we find all this out, and it's like this not. No.
When we're paying, thousands upon thousands of dollars for the park, and so it was interesting.
it seems like some of these cities are so scared of things like that, anything entertaining.
Right. Well,
and I mean, Portland's a very entertainment type city.
Right.
But to hear about them screwing something up,
they don't make it easy for sure. And
I don't think any city
not in the
does.
parks department for sure, but it's.
we were bringing in a tall ship each year too. The
First couple
tall
years.
ship links.
2-3 years.
And that required, they
that
wanted
went-
us to
that
hire
went
divers
way-
to go down
way
and make sure
beyond.
the tall ship wasn't going to wreck the fishing
Right
dock.
in the
and,
county and the state and the Coast Guard and the everybody.
Yeah.
It was-
So how did you fund it for that initial year?
ticket sales, pretty much.
Partners
We had
threw in
a few.
a basic commitment, so we had a little bit of money.
Okay.
Each partner
not
kicked
much.
in, yeah.
But then it was all based on vendors, which we had very few of, and ticket sales in advance, and the rest was on a credit card. And
Well, later we
and
had
then
60
ticket
vendors,
sales.
so the vendors do pay fees to come in. That helps us
Sure.
with some
fees,
upfront money that we have to pay the parks and things like that. But we had to bring all the power in and everything, so it was expensive endeavor. But
Certainly. So then going that 6 or 7 years there, it's obviously a successful venture as far as people want to go and experience.
oh
it
yeah,
and
there's
things
still
like that.
people are still like
Still
every
clamoring
year.
for
Is it
it.
happening again? And all the vendors were their favorite event. A lot of them travel around the country,
Sure.
doing events, but they're still waiting.
When was the last one?
2012.
Okay.
We had rather a disaster. We were in St. Helens. We had purchased a small tall ship called Tall Ship Royalties.
You bought a pirate ship.
We bought a
Thinking it
pirate
would
ship.
help the festival.
course you
We thought, it's just why
Thinking it would
not? We
help
have
the
a festival.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why pay $20,000 for the links to come in when we can have our own little tall ship?
Right.
So we had her for about 9 months. We had trucked her across the country. We found her in Kentucky Lake.
Okay.
The
She was
Royalists.
stranded there. She had she was built in Nova Scotia.
It's a huge story. It's a
for
huge
the
story.
for the Canadian War Museum. It's a replica gunboat from the 1800s. So she had the cannons and everything. But she was trying to, they were trying to make their way down from Chicago down to the Gulf of Mexico, and the Mississippi floods were coming, and they pulled her out in Kentucky Lake. Was the only place big enough to pull her out, but she got flooded on the hard anyway, and we found her after that, and I bought her. Took the bosun from the Lady Washington, Grays Harbor Historical Seaport Foundation ship. We took him back there with us to look at her, and of course he fell in love with her. And bless his heart, we loved him, but I think it was a bigger dream for him, and so he got us into it as well. So we put her on a truck and brought her out to Portland.
You were pretty intent on the purchasing
finding
of that
one.
ship.
So,
but yeah, so yes, we ended up with a ship that we were restoring, and after 9 months, we went out on our first gig.
Okay.
And this is, of course, ostensibly so she could ply these waters, doing events, doing sail training, doing all kinds of, involvement with just the community, just being present, the only tall ship resident to this area. And so, our first trip out, and we got crushed against the dock by the sternwheeler Portland.
Oh, no.
If you've seen the sternwheeler downtown, she's a museum most of the time.
Okay.
They hadn't really let her out since she ran into the docks in 2008. But this was 2012, and it was her first day out since then.
Locks,
oh, no.
The Cascade locks. So we're not in the docks. In 2008, she jammed up and got jammed into the Cascade locks.
Yikes.
So the Coast Guard, plenty of Coast Guard were on board and making sure that everything went okay. And we all showed up for the Maritime Heritage Festival in St. Helens, and we went to our assigned spot. The current was really bad that day, so everybody had trouble pulling in. But we got in, and we were toasting our, we made it, our first event, and we'd done all this work on board. We were all dressed like pirates, and there were about 30 people, I guess, standing on the dock taking pictures of us.
At them when they pulled in.
Yeah, so fired cannons.
The ship's coming in, and we're like giving them a volley of welcome to the event.
Yeah, but somehow they just
managed to back into us.
Yeah, they had 300 feet of dock in front of them to pull into, but they went in reverse. And the big wheel, once you go in reverse with that thing, you can't.
Well, and they were reversing with the current, and then had to try to stop going and go against the current.
Yeah.
To stop themselves. Yeah.
We made international news. I mean, it's all over. It's still over YouTube. You can see it happening, and me screaming at the top of my lungs.
Just
Shuhe trying to push the ship
pirate
away.
Ship versus sternwheeler, and you will see several videos of that occurrence.
Okay, I have to link that up in the show.
This was also like in July, and our event. Our first festival where she was going to be for the first time was going to be in the same place on Labor Day weekend. So we were just a few weeks away from
at the festival.
Of course, she couldn't make it to our event, and we were in the throes of throwing our event, so we couldn't be there to watch all the work that was done. Their insurance company, which was Lloyd's of London, interestingly enough.
The irony.
Historically, Lloyd's of London began because of piracy way back when.
Yeah.
Insurance.
So it's funny that they were the insurance company that had to pay up. But
what was their excuse for running into you?
Well, at first they said the captain wouldn't talk to me at first, but then he finally came over and talked to me because I was complaining to so many people about it. And he
a couple of our pirates went over and boarded
he said
their
he didn't
ship
see us.
Excuse me.
Oh, I didn't know they were there. Oh, and then they called us the pesky pirates. We were in the way. We weren't supposed to be there in the first place, even though we were invited and exactly where we were supposed to be on the docks.
Called in by the harbor master. We were told where to dock.
Yeah,
so it was all legit.
To this day, there's still no final resolution with the Coast Guard in Washington, D.C., where you're supposed to have the reports, even though it's all on camera and everybody knows, and they didn't even argue about paying for it. But the problem with paying for a wooden ship that's been crushed against concrete docks is the damage is you can't even see what all the damage is. And it's really no place in Portland that can do that kind of work to a wooden vessel like that. They're used to fiberglass and, you know. So we went to the only place that could pull us out, and in Portland that can lift a ship like that. And I think they tried to do a good job, but they mostly ran away with the money.
They had their own agenda as well. So and they were more in cahoots with the insurance company, trying to not cover pre-existing conditions, blah, 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 blah. And we were so busy with the festival that last year that we just couldn't possibly, they were dealing with it, essentially.
Yeah.
And it was just until we get through the festival, we can't really focus on this at all.
Right.
It's a very long story, but we did all the watch hours to try to save money for the insurance company. We were way too nice.
But long and short of it comes down to that endeavor. Sadly, is come to a necessary end as far as we can sustain her. Right. Because really the work that now has to be done on her is and largely based on probably this incident and is more expensive than we can continue to manage. Because at this point, of course, we were hoping to be making some kind of revenue.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Years ago. In fact, we were one of the few things we were paid for by the insurance company was lost wages based on at least 6 or 7 gigs that we had already lined up. and other like ongoing gigs that we're going to start to engage in, you know what I mean?
Right.
Doing sail training. And there was, so that's just, we were already on track to become very active. And then it just, bam, stop. And we thought even after that, and the reason we were kind of like really want to get through this and really want to still come out with our ship, is that we still thought we could still do this. You know what I mean? And we still, and based on the work that was done and based on everything, we're like, okay, hopefully she's in, decent enough condition to pursue this. And unfortunately, very soon, as we did go out on a couple different events, it proved to be not the case.
We did. Yeah, we had about, I guess, before she even got here, we had about $40,000 worth of gigs all lined up with OMSI, and there was a lot of interest. But then we had to cancel all that, and so
what a shame. Where is the ship now?
She is floating.
Multnomah Channel.
She has She has a very elaborate bilge pump system, keeping her afloat. We're probably going to have one last party on her in a couple of weeks, and then try to pull her out of the water in July.
We may have an interested party or two who might be up for taking her over as a restoration.
Okay.
Basically,
to use for their purposes, wherever they are. But
for sale, one ship as is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, I'm almost donating her really after all the money that's been put into her. But if there's a group that can actually save her, then it's worth it to me to just. Kiss all that goodbye. Just because we love her so much, and we did put in we had a crew that put in so many, so much blood, sweat, and tears into work on her.
Yeah, sure.
Since then, so it's been 5 years since the carnage, and
she's beautiful from the deck up, and much of the internal structure. We replaced 90% of all of the, probably actually almost all of the deck.
All
ribs,
the modern day conveniences
the deck beams
are gone.
We've replaced a bunch of like old rotten stuff, like tons and tons and tons, re-stepped masts. We've done it's an immense amount of work.
Yeah.
We've learned
not just
a lot.
Ourselves. We've replaced the whole electrical system, the whole fuel system, just
crazy.
Dug into this baby. And she's in great shape. Just the hull.
Huh, that's insane.
In part due to other stuff that we knew we were going to be dealing with within a few years, you know what I mean?
Right.
We knew about now we'd have to be dealing with a couple of things that when we first saw her, we were like, that's going to come up on us at some point. And we knew there were to be big projects, but something we could have actually tackled without having had been crushed. And that presents a whole other bunch of problems with the entire hull. So, I mean, it's someone out there. There's someone out there.
Maybe Texas.
Maybe there's an outside chance she'll end up in Texas. Way outside, but hopefully that'd be great.
What is that group in Texas? That's
well, now we shouldn't go disseminating too much information. They might get mad at us.
That's true.
They haven't committed to anything.
There are plenty of pirates down the Gulf there.
There is.
Yeah, there are a lot. This
is actually would be historical uses actually for the estate.
Okay.
Somehow.
Great.
Affiliated to the state and naval history.
Interesting.
So,
that would be
not
good.
sure. Yeah.
That would be good. So then what's the status of the festival? Is that is something that you want to bring back?
As soon as we can move the ship along so she can
stop
stop bleeding me dry.
Yeah. But if we got to move Royalist out of the scene.
It's still just keeping her, afloat is a lot of work. So we don't feel like we can handle the festival as well and the wine business and everything.
Well, there's that whole other aspect that, in the last 4 years came into the picture.
Yeah. So
between then and now.
Yeah. I don't know why, but right when all that was going on, basically.
Yeah. So tell me about this beautiful winery.
Okay. So I'm just going to say this is why she's the Commodore is because she's just crazy enough that she lays out these great plans. And you're just like, I'll follow you there. Yeah. Yes, lead the way, Captain. Oy, grand adventure shall be. That's the way that's going to work.
I know, but I always think, well, if I don't try, I'll never know.
Right.
If I, of course, now I know getting a tall ship is pretty crazy. pretty much full-time job.
Yeah, it can be. Well, and in an ideal world, it would have been something that it was maintained, even if there was no genuine profit in it, maintained by income.
Well, I was wanting to. I was living in a house called the Tree House down by the zoo in the woods. Felt like you're in the middle of nowhere, but right in Portland.
That's the Tarzan episode. We'll talk about that later.
And my kids were pretty much grown up, off to college and everything. And I thought I really want to get in the sun and out of these deep, dark woods.
Okay.
So we found such a deal on this vineyard.
She started looking. It was about 2 years. She was just trolling for just properties or whatever. She was clearly on the path to try to buy a space that was.
Yeah, I made an offer, and I was the lowest offer, but I think I was the only one that wasn't going to tear the vineyard out.
I see.
The owners loved it so much that they were retiring to Minnesota, of all places.
They're spending like almost 20 years putting in this vineyard, this 3-acre vineyard.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, well, all right, off to Minnesota.
That's usually a place people escape from.
Yeah. In retirement, especially. Warmer climates.
So, yeah, we bought this place, and about the same time we were buying this place and moving in and having a 4th of July party for everybody, firing off the cannons up here. And that's a good thing. We're in Portland, but we're unincorporated.
Okay.
So we can fire guns. We can fire our cannons.
Noisy pirates. Yeah.
I mean, our neighbors are not always happy, but we have done it right off the balcony there. But I think our captain passed away about the same time. This is the bosun that I told you about, who went back to see the ship with us. And he was just reading a book. And
Captain Jim Rich.
He actually lived, he was a Renaissance man, lived just like in the old days. He
Really?
heated water to put in a big old tub. He had no electricity.
Huh.
He was a Baroque
blacksmith
musician and a
and
blacksmith. And he
Baroque musician. Built
did
his
all the
own
blacksmithing
instruments.
for Pirates of the Caribbean movies. And
He did a bunch of weapons.
he had been the bosun, but he got his captain papers when we bought the Royalists, so he could be our captain.
Okay.
Well, he passed away reading a book and having just entertained. He was an older gentleman, but he entertained a lot of ladies, I guess. And having just entertained someone for the evening, and he was reading his book and fell asleep and didn't wake up. And
Wow.
so we went out on the Lady Washington and buried him at sea the same time we were moving in up here. And we almost went down that.
Almost didn't make it home on that one.
It was supposed to be a 3-hour trip, and it was 17 hours to try to get
Sit
back
right
from.
back into here.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Love a
something
fateful
Gilligan's
trip.
Island. Yeah.
Yeah, 3-hour tour.
Started in Wood. Where were we?
Then we found out. We
sailed
figured
out
he
of-
was laughing from heaven because he was trying to make real sailors. He said, "See, this is what it's really like." The crew of the Lady Washington, half of them weren't even up on board. They were. We didn't even know that there were more crew because they were all sick and in their quarters.
Oh, my
And,
gosh.
Yeah, that's how bad the seas were.
It was
really
a
rough.
17-hour trip.
Yikes.
17 hours overnight. I didn't expect it overnight.
Yeah.
No one
yeah.
came prepared for an overnight.
Right. Yeah.
See, when you bury someone at sea, you have to go 100 fathoms deep, I believe it is.
Like that.
Okay.
And to find a canyon that's that deep, you have to go out. We had to go out 30 miles.
Quite a ways. Yeah.
So we had to go. We're in a tall ship, but we can't raise the sails because we have to go against
The wind and
wind
against
to
the
get
currents
there.
at
Yeah.
that point in time.
And the seas were huge. It wasn't
was a
stormy,
huge
but
thing.
the seas. I mean, Lady Washington is really,
bluff
very
ship,
very high
yeah.
ship.
Yeah.
That high.
And we were just swamped with water the whole time.
Oh,
And
my gosh.
everybody was sick, and you could smell barf everywhere, and it was just really.
It was a long
we were
night.
all soking wet,
It was a long
and
night.
finally at midnight, we had his casket
Just
strapped,
lashed to the deck.
lashed to the deck to
Sticking
hold it
out
on.
one of the gunnels,
Okay.
and kind of tied there, then tied onto the doghouse, and it was just lashed there like really well. Big old, probably 500-pound casket. His anvil was in there with him. His blacksmithing anvil.
Yeah,
they cut holes
heavy.
in it all over the place, so
The
that
water
it
would go
sank.
in.
Yeah, that was a crazy moment in time.
That was the dangerous moment. Was trying to cut the ropes to let the casket over at the right time when the tilt of the ship was just
sure.
right,
Yeah.
and the people were. I really thought we were going to lose somebody in the water
That was
at
me,
that
'cause-
moment.
Okay, so those of us who were still conscious essentially went up and were called up to help release the casket, and one of our other captains, our present captain Michael Dowding, had he and I were up there, and we were on the back end of the casket, one of the back corners, and as they were kind of starting to loose lines, and we're it's still we're like basically
Vertical. Yeah. Right.
going vertical to the other vertical to the
Yeah.
other vertical, and we were up to our waist in water,
Right.
moving water, sloshing across the ship. So having a foothold, having a place to just hang on,
Sure.
was very difficult. And then as they started to loose lines, those lines started to fall into the water, and we're dangling in the water, kind of around us,
Yikes.
in the water. And then a couple of the crew who were holding on to the the corner ends off of pick lines, trying to keep it steady. Couldn't hold it. Couldn't hold the weight, and then the pressure that was being put on them. So they had let go.
Oh no!
And their lines were all swimming around us.
Yeah.
And then the casket starts to kind of cut out through the hole through the gunnel, and it. Like, as we're kind of dipping over that way, it kind of pivoted over and jammed in the gunnel.
Oh, jeez.
And at that point, a lot of the lines started feeding over and washing, because we were tipping that way, and all of the lines washed over with the water, like a lot of them, not all of them. But and they were in the water, trailing back towards the rudder of the propeller of the ship. And there the captain starts, he's like, oh no, no. And so, ultimately, it took I think the first mate or the second mate, one of a guy who was on the ship who was pretty hardcore, he just gave it a good shoulder to the side, and it went, boom, and went. But all of these lines were wrapped around Michael and I.
Right.
And the people on the other side as well.
Yeah.
We were all just like, uh-oh. Yeah. And we were all like grabbing onto each other, he grabbed onto the mast, the lines on the mast. I grabbed onto the doghouse, and we're all just like dancing around out of these lines as they're like whipping off the ship.
Oh my gosh.
It was just really, really terrifying. It was,
that would be my last time on a ship.
I was holding on.
May well be mine. I don't know.
Before we got out that far, I was holding on to the mast, just trying to keep from getting washed overboard. So I couldn't stay below because the barf smell was too much, and then I would have been barfing too. And the only way I could keep from getting sick was to munch on a little bit of cornbread every second and to hold on to the mast. But we reached a point where I thought, okay, this is it. I'm going to die.
Right.
And
it's a couple of times really
the worst part was that I couldn't call my kids because we had no reception to say anything to my kids. But then this whale just jumped out of the water right next to the ship. And then all these dolphins started going along, and it was like a message from Captain Jim or something. It was
a whale and a calf, and they jumped along the side of the ship for about 15 minutes.
Wow!
And were breaching just constantly.
They were leading us there.
And then as soon as they faded off, drifted off from the boat, and then just shortly after, a big pod of dolphins were just there, like all along the front of the ship, going up the side of these big waves that were like you could see them way over the side of the ship.
Wow!
And they're in the waves.
Crazy.
Swimming past you as you're kind of lifting up over the waves.
That's when I figured whatever happened, it didn't matter, and then it was fine. It was like,
we just suddenly got very
cool.
calm. We were just like, all right, well, this is nature, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and there's so many, like even Captain Jim's daughter, she arranged this whole thing, and she couldn't even crawl up the stairs to see anything, of it.
Even to see her father.
And they finally, when they said, okay, it's time, can you peek your head up here? The casket's going over, and she said,
anything? She said,
just chuck him
overboard. Let's go home.
Said, Dad'll understand. Just chuck him. She was so seasick. That's what it's like when you're seasick. From your wife on the cruise ship. You just don't care about anything. You just want to die.
Oh, yeah. I'm no good either. I get seasick too, but yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah. I would have been toast.
Luckily, I survived the seasickness, but didn't get seasick.
I didn't get seasick per se, but I got cold really fast because I had nothing on. And at a certain point, I just had to go below, and I was so cold. And below decks, it was bad because that smell, and then just like the feeling of the motion and the sound on the ship, it was just, wow. I can't imagine what it would have been like to cross an ocean.
Yeah, that's when you start going, I don't want to be a pirate anymore.
When you see the first mate checking every seam on the ship every 15 minutes.
Against the hull and being like, hi, I don't mean to make it, but can I look behind you?
Yeah, right.
Okay, you're safe.
Yeah. There was a camera crew on board that were supposed to be filming Jim for some kind of documentary. And they just didn't even make it out there to do hardly anything.
They were actually there trying to catch, I don't know what kind of documentary, if they ever got any footage off that, but they were shooting the whales.
Yeah.
One guy was holding the other guy on the poop deck stairs.
Right.
And kind of lashed himself in, and the other guy was trying to catch them.
Yeah.
Then they passed out.
Oh, up and down. It's really crazy.
Yeah. Wow. So how do you turn around from that? So you've pushed him off the ship.
Well, once we could turn the ship and raise the sails at midnight,
because we caught the wind.
Okay.
That's when there were so many crew members that we had never seen before. They made them come up, and we didn't even know these hours that they were even on board.
Oh my gosh.
But they came up. They were barfing over the sides while they were trying to raise all these huge sails.
And running lines and just working hard. But once we turned around and faced into the wind, or caught the wind, and turned off the engine,
Yeah.
all of a sudden she just was gliding.
Because then we're
Really?
going with the
seamlessly
wind.
over the
It
waves,
was beautiful.
same waves.
Wow.
And it just evened everything out. And they just
Yeah.
turned them into the waves and just ride them.
So much quieter.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Still huge swells, but just calm and nice. And then we knew we were going to live. We pretty sure we were going to live.
Yeah, that was a ride.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jim.
That's insane.
And then we came back here in time for our 4th of July party while we were moving in and firing cannons. And yeah, it was crazy. We all had a champagne toast to Captain Jim. And we figured that was he was training us.
He was just saying,
Either that or he was telling us, sorry about Royal East. I should have told you really shouldn't have bought her. And I just was going to show you what it was really like to be a sailor.
Right. Yeah.
if we had ever gone out, it might have felt something like this.
Yeah. Wow, that's insane. So you buy the vineyard.
Right.
It was a vineyard before you bought it, right?
Right.
Is it a working vineyard now? Or
It
is
is.
a decorative
Before
Seven
the
Sails
previous owners
Vineyard.
were kind of doing it giving it to friends and family, their wine, and their wine it was okay, but I think they had gotten tired. They were older and tired of doing the work, and so we hadn't a clue. We didn't know what to do. But that first year, we only had 46 cases of Seven Sails Pinot Gris, 2014, no 13, and the next year we had 215 cases, and then the third year we had 320 cases, so we got better and better.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, coming into it, did you know anything about
Not a
wine?
thing. No, I had just been in love with grapes my whole life. I've been
Okay.
painting grapes and drawing grapes, and
Well,
I
let's
had
see.
grape
So,
I don't know why, but I love
Between,
grapes.
I don't know, starting a pirate festival or let's say getting a pirate ship or getting a vineyard. No, we knew nothing about any of those things when we started
okay.
doing them.
Uh-huh.
Not
But
nothing. The event work, we had both done some promoting and some entertainment and had been involved with stuff.
Well, we
Right.
have a really fun pub at the Pirate Festival, Oberon's. They come up out of Ashland and have
Okay.
all the wenches and so we thought, well, we need some wine, with our label on it in the
own
pub
pub.
for the Pirate Festival.
Named after our ship, which we got because of a pirate festival.
my
That we
daughter
got putting
drew the
on because
label.
of a ship that we got in a vineyard we started.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like, we got to get back to that first part because we're doing all this because of that. It's
Yeah, but I mean, it's interesting how when you are the type of person that goes, I don't know, let's try that. And,
Right.
and you just sort of kind of follow the path that shows up in front of you. It always leads
Right.
to interesting things.
So this year we actually, last harvest, 2016 vintage, we tried a Pinot Gris Rosé, which apparently is very rare. And everybody said, you really can't do that. You don't get enough color. It's a white wine. But, our Pinot Gris does have purple skins. And we noticed that Arras has a French winemaker who had actually managed to do it. It didn't taste super great. It was a little vinegary, but
Jesus, really.
but we
say that
thought
in
we have a lot of Pinot Gris now. We need to have something else to offer. So we did.
I know we're pirates, but we don't need to make enemies.
We
now.
did do rosé, and it's really good.
saying.
And we've been getting great ratings in Wine Enthusiasts.
Nice.
We were featured in the Oregon Wine Press on the cover. Of course, you got to have a gimmick, when you're pirates standing on a tall
Sure,
ship
yeah.
with your wine. I think they kind of like that. But out of 750 plus wineries and vineyards, well, probably more vineyards in Oregon, we managed to get on the cover. We only have 3 acres of grapes.
Yeah.
We're tiny.
Yeah, it's
Tiny.
not big. It's pretty, but it's not big. Oh yeah, look at that. There's the magazine cover right there.
And then the New York
great.
holiday issue of Wine Enthusiast put our wine in there as one of 12 Oregon Pinot Gris to get. So
Neat.
listed.
we were pretty excited about that since we don't know what we're doing.
Yeah. I mean, what was the process like learning how to do it?
Well, we don't have a winery. We're just a vineyard. So
Sure.
we do take our grapes out to Carlton.
Okay.
Fortunately, the grapes came with a crew.
Okay.
We've been working the fields here for a while, so
Okay.
you got a foothold there.
They laugh
They're
at us.
familiar,
And, yeah.
familiar with all this, basically teaching us, whatever,
Okay.
how to manage this space. And it also came with a vintner who
Oh,
happened
okay.
to be good.
Okay.
So
He has his own label, Lujon, John Durthick. But he said, no, you're crazy. We can't make Pinot Gris Rosé. And we said, but you're going to.
But you're going to anyways. Come on
So-
now, maestro.
We go out and taste it, and we pretend like we know what we're doing, and basically he
We
does
can't
it.
do that. Yeah, but we don't
No.
know we can't do that.
Yeah.
So we'll do that.
Right.
Yeah.
See, it's good when you don't know
I'm
much.
acting
Yeah.
like a grape person. Take that.
So where can people get their hands on some of your wine?
Well, from us, and we deliver too.
Okay.
In certain range. But we also ship to where it's shippable and, but yeah, online through us, and or if you're in the Portland area, which is mostly where we have any distribution, being self-distributed.
We're in some shops and a few liquor stores.
Couple restaurants.
Smaller restaurants. And
Trying to get more all the time.
Sure, of course.
we might be in the Cornelius Pass Fred Meyer soon, which is a big store.
See?
Maybe.
Trying to make enemies again.
So is the website is what's the website? Seven Sails.
Oh, it's actually Margot Productions,
Margot Productions.
MARGOT, which is the ship and the band
But if you type in Seven Sails, it will
and
come
the
up
wine.
I'm sure it will.
in the search.
Yes.
Yeah.
The band,
Google.
yes, the band. We
Also in a pirate band. Ooh.
Yes. So now, what's the current projects? What are you working on now?
with the band, you mean?
With any and above. So we got the wine.
Well,
and the band.
Our July 1st is our big wine release celebration, which is growing each year. We have it once a year to introduce our new vintage, and then people can drink wine from the past. And we just have a big party up here. And I cook for. Last year I cooked for 100 people, and I think we're going to have 150 this year.
Nice.
And we have this year is bluegrass theme, Kentucky cooking. So we have a bluegrass band.
She's been cooking for like a month and a half.
Cooking and freezing.
It's pretty crazy. She throws a party.
And what kind of
people
Kentucky
are fed
cooking are you doing?
Oh boy.
Oh my gosh!
See, now you're going to start getting people saying, "I'm going to that party."
We got a lot of Kentucky Derby kind of delectables that I've been working on, like Kentucky hot browns and things like that. Bourbon meatballs and lots of bourbon and everything.
Bourbon and pork.
Right.
Yeah.
Lots of pig.
Lots of pig.
That's great. And so
hush puppies and come on, lay it out.
Shrimp.
You got it going on.
Kentucky's not on the coast,
don't even joke about this. Don't even joke. There'll be piles of food on like several tables all around the place.
I feed everybody, but people do buy the wine, so
Sure.
it's a way to get the wine out there because we self-distribute, and Shuhe kind of runs around trying to do all the distributing on top of everything else we do, and so it's a way to have a sale at the house, once a year, and a big party at the same time.
Nice. Oh, that sounds really fun.
Yeah.
Sounds really great.
And cannons.
And cannons, yes. Oh, they must terrify the hipsters downtown. And so the band, what's the band doing?
Let's see. We are going to do a little more recording coming up here. We just put out a new music video on our YouTube channel.
Played Tall Ships Tacoma.
We just played the Festival of Sail in Tacoma.
Okay.
We will be playing the Washougal Pirate. What are they calling it? Pirates in the Plaza.
Summer
in
Pirates,
August.
Pirates in the Plaza. Yep.
And then we're playing in Lake Oswego and.
Got a few gigs, and we're getting a few more gigs these days.
We'll be playing for the Swashbucklers Ball in November. People should go to that. That's a lot of fun.
That's a huge shindig. If you want to come up and catch some pirate activity up here in the Northwest,
it's a big pirate
right
ball.
now. That's the preeminent pirate event in Portland.
Right,
proper.
Yeah. That's a big one.
Yeah.
That's in November.
And
I
should come up here for that.
That is fun.
I have to see if I can schedule
It's a good time. It's a good time.
And so, what is the pirate music is large and varied these days. What is your take on it?
We like to play I like every kind of music, almost. So we play every style pretty much, but all with a pirate theme. Mm-hmm. And this is everything from taking old sea shanties, legit ones, and doing hot jazz to rolling down to Old Maui, that kind of thing. So we play a big variety of music and good danceable music.
Yeah.
Styles.
We tend to mix it up, multi-genre, but also, aside from, we do some traditional music as well as more kind of modern traditional, we might call it.
Okay.
Bands that have done seafaring type music recently, and we also take songs and just turn them into pirate songs.
Give me an example of that. That sounds cool.
Smooth by Santana and Rob Thomas. We have our own Pirate Smooth.
Pirate.
That is, I just took the lyrics and I heard a line in there somewhere and twisted it into a pirate song. So it's
that sounds fun. That's not really a take I've heard anybody else do, where we're going to take modern music and turn it into pirate songs. I haven't seen that yet.
That's and it's interestingly the couple of songs we've done that we have recorded or gotten into recording on one of our albums were contested as not being true parodies because they were using the melody, but the thematic element was not a reference to the old song.
Right.
Whereas with Smooth, I did that. I kept, there was a hot one laid out on deck under the midday sun. And so I used a lot of the existing words and verbiage to fill it in. But we did a couple other ripoffs that were
So you're tweaking the lyrics to see. Parody is an interesting thing. I do musical comedy too, and so parody by definition is that you're supposed to be making fun of the song,
right?
itself.
Exactly.
Right.
Like Weird Al technically isn't parody because he'll change the complete theme of the song,
right?
And I've only written one parody song, and it was a parody of Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah, which makes fun of the song Hallelujah and how overused it is.
Right, so that's an obvious parody.
Yeah, and it's a by definition parody. But that's an interesting way to go about it with the pop music, to turn it into pirate songs and try to define it as parody or a remake, or just the legalities behind that and the copyrights and things like that are very
tricky.
Well, we wrote a tune called "Boom Shiver Me Timbers."
Oh,
which
don't
is
say the D word. No D word.
From Jim Cheree, and we actually were given permission by ISNY
no D word
to do it, but then their lawyers changed their mind. So we'd already recorded the rhythm section. We were just using their melody, and we'd written all piratical lyrics to it.
Yeah.
They said, okay, it's a parody. It's good. You can do it. And then, of course, there's tons of nasty ones out there that are considered parodies that are okay to do. But this was a nice family tune that we wrote. And so we'd already recorded the rhythm section. So we had to completely change the melody just so there's no 3 notes in a row that were the same as Jim
it's a nice,
Cheree.
French waltz, kind of thing. So it a gypsy waltz, I guess.
So we changed the vote. We hadn't recorded the vocals yet, so it was easy to do with the same chord changes.
Right.
Just change the melody.
Yeah. It's a strange gray area. Yeah, right. Yeah, it's a strange gray area in copyright that's never really been addressed, where you take a song like that and you're changing the lyric, because the lyrics seem to be sort of the sacred part of the song. But I just released a cover, and I never do covers and things, but I released a cover of I Want to Be Sedated by the Ramones.
Nice.
But it's all acoustic guitar, slowed down 3-part harmonies like the Ramones would hate it. And, but it came to me in a dream one night, and I had to really dig into, how do I get a license for this? Turned out it actually was real easy because I was using all the same lyrics and I was using the same melody.
If you keep it straightforward, I'm just doing a cover. Just a cover. That's
Yeah, and that turned out to be really easy. But whenever you start changing the lyrics a little bit, then it starts to get weird, and it's harder to get a license for it and all that kind of stuff. So
and you have the artist approval, because a lot of the songs we've actually used have been smaller artists,
we know
just
the
talk
artists
right to the artists themselves, and they say, sure, I don't mind, and then they kind of approve it, they run it through their process, whatever, but we don't ever have to talk to their label or whatever like that.
Right, like Buckle, who wrote Scallywag, and but that's why when we take the old shanties, they're traditional, and then write them to more modern sounds, playing Cape Cod blues, we do it as a blues. Cape Cod Girls is a blues. That kind of thing. So we do the opposite as well. And then that's a little safer.
Yeah.
And then we have some of our own we've written, I wrote a tune called Nackens Polska. We have a good animated video to that one. And it's an old Swedish epic poem that we put to music.
Set to Swedish sheep herding calls.
Okay.
Right, we do the
epic,
herding
just
calls.
Epic, yeah, it's pretty epic. It's a good song. I would say it's our most epic
song. How could
song.
Swedish sheep herding calls not be epic?
It's huge. It's a big song.
It worked well when we played the Witches' Ball last year. The herding calls were very eerie.
Yeah, but other things, I like, and some of the ones I enjoy playing the most are where, you took the old songs, turned them into blues and jazz, and just taking the song and twisting it up. Rhythmic wise, we just took what Randy Dandio and gave it just twisted it up a little bit. Gave it a good rock
kind of molly-ish. Yeah.
What kind of instrumentation are you working with?
Still doing acoustic fundamentally, but
We have a new guitar player though that makes us amazing.
He's a human
Jeffrey
orchestra.
White. He's a human orchestra. All the pedals.
His guitar.
His guitar becomes every instrument. So that's wonderful.
And he knows how to play it well.
We're very lucky to have him. And,
amazing what a little new chemistry can do.
Yes.
Well, our chemistry has definitely changed over the years. When we first started out, we were with the Brotherhood of Oceanic Mercenaries. We were introducing music into the repertoire. We were introducing sword fights. They were growing the size of the show.
That's
overall.
why our first CD says "Boom."
Right, and we created essentially from the momentum of a couple of gigs in our second summer, where we were expected to like events, like company events. We were expected to do some kind of stage show, so we threw together a random stage show, and started to just work in our thematic elements, kind of like vaudevillian style, where we had repartee in between the numbers, and then we decided, well, if we're going to do this, we really need to kind of create a show. And so it became this pirate vaudeville show that was kind of our running gag or running presentation for 4 or 5 years.
Right. The family shows are geared more towards that.
Yeah. Sword fights, and we would dress up in like big ship costumes and play acting inside of songs.
Wigs on the men. And,
just, playing all the gigs, occasional, shooting of a small arm on stage, But just, it was definitely more of a full crew thing. It was 15 of us on stage, something like that.
High Barbary, and the men would wear boats around them and run around the audience and have a battle with their boats.
Shoot our little squirt guns at each other. I would get conquered every time. So definitely way more that theatrical element, and you can hear it in our recordings because we do these little theatrical interludes in between the songs that kind of keep us in the environment, I suppose. So we've been accused of kind of Monty Python-esque in our approach to how that stuff sounds. I prefer to think Stan Freberg, because that's where my influence comes from. Stan Freberg's like, oh man, his audio plays were amazing.
Oh yeah, great stuff.
But then as we it became apparent as we got more ambitious, tried to do recording and stuff like that, where the folks who were involved weren't as, let's say, committed to getting it as tight as it really could or should be. Sure. And kind of our aspirations were moving towards separating a little bit because of Portland Pirate Festival from being affiliated to a specific crew. Right. So Kate and I kind of backed out of being involved with the Brotherhood and being involved with, PDXR specifically, any of the groups around town as a specific, we're with this crew. Just because in a way we were kind of not conducting, that's the wrong word, but we were, we were putting on the festival, which was a center point for all of those
to bring everybody together. Yeah.
So we kind of think of it like we're being unified, not particular to, So, and that just, as we did that, we started to make contact with more artists or more better musicians, I suppose, and started to kind of refine our repertoire a little bit, and get down to making some music now.
That's about the time we got our Guinness World Record.
Oh, yes. We did get the Guinness World Record for the most pirates gathered in one place.
The largest gathering of pirates in one place.
And we're the only Americans ever to hold the title.
Really?
And actually have the certificate to prove it.
Wow.
So, it was just, I was looking for something to do.
Are we still the only Americans?
Only Americans ever to hold it.
Well, yeah.
So now in that process, you had to fly a Guinness person out to verify it and everything, right? That's a weird process.
We had our Guinness reps. It was actually, you don't have to have, it goes faster if you have a Guinness rep specifically flown in from England.
You can get approval and use your own reps.
We got approval. They had to send in their dossier of who they were. We got a couple of people we knew in the entertainment industry that were serious entertainers. Yeah. And they sent in their little dossiers of and they got accepted as acceptable judges. Okay. And then but then from there we had to cordoning off the area, how much time we had to do it, making sure everyone had their eye patch and their sword and their, the bandana, I think was the main thing. The
dumb requirements that they said everybody had to have.
To become a pirate. So we managed to get almost 1,700 pirates into our enclosure. We
had thousands of pirates there, but getting them all logged in with exactly the right outfit was just almost impossible, because we have mermaids that show up. We have people in wheelchairs that turn their wheelchairs into ships.
At least have an eye patch.
Not everybody would fit the requirement.
We were giving out eye patches. We had a big stock of eye patches in case people didn't have eye patches. So we went for it, and lo and behold, we got it.
The Brits had it first, and then the Germans got it, and then we got it, and then this little lady from England called back to tell us that we got it back.
Well, NorCal Pirate, and that was interesting. That exact time, NorCal Pirate Festival, which I believe just happened, or was about to happen, just happened.
Yeah.
They did it the next year after we had won it, and supposedly they got
I'm sure
a lot more pirates.
Right.
They had like 2,500, but at the same weekend in England, this other beach, this huge beach, did it, and they got like 7,000 pirates.
Oh my gosh!
So it was like, forget about it.
It wasn't even a festival. They just had the.
They
Guinness.
didn't even have a chance to submit their proof to Guinness. Like it went so fast because they obviously had a Guinness rep right there who approved it on the spot.
Right.
So they technically they may have won it, but they never had the accolade of the plaque.
Yeah. So I think we're still the only ones. But
depending
even
on the
though we
time,
got less
they may not
people.
have ever even had it.
That's crazy. Yeah, that whole Guinness thing. I've looked into it for some things, and a buddy of mine, Sammy Obeid, is a comic, and he did 1,001 nights of comedy in a row.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, he did comedy every night for 1,001 nights, and he was doing like sometimes 4 or 5 sets a night. He was
like
insane.
3.5 years.
Yes, yeah, he's a nut job, and he's hilarious. But he wanted to. He couldn't get the Guinness record for it because he would have had to have a Guinness rep with him
every night
for every gig
to prove that he had. Well, he couldn't just keep a repertoire. Okay, here's another gig. I mean,
they wouldn't let him do it that way. They're like, no, you'd have to have a rep with you every night. And he's like, I can't bring. He's like, I'm traveling all over the country doing this. I can't have a rep with me.
That's messed up. Actually, that's not fair.
It really was. So as far as I'm concerned, Sammy Obeid has the record for 1,001 nights of comedy.
Well, who else is going to attempt that? Knowing that they have to pay a Guinness rep for 5 years.
Yeah, it's insane. And he, I mean, turned him into a heck of a comic.
Sure.
His I think it was show 997 or 998 was his set on Conan O'Brien, which was pretty cool.
Nice.
So,
nice.
That's great.
Yeah, so Sammy's great. But yeah, the whole Guinness thing is just bizarre because I've looked into it for a few things and I was just like,
it's like I gotta.
It was tricky because we're trying to throw the festival at the same time and do all the requirements that Guinness needed us to do and then we had to rope it right in the middle of the festival with I think we had 16,000 people that year. We had to rope in the people to count them, and funnel them all through at the main stage and keep them separated from everybody else at the festival who didn't have the
enough
right
people to make sure. And some of them were in there for pushing 2 hours.
Oh my god!
Like we're in the enclosure, and
we had to keep
pub
them.
Started running. We took out gators out, so the pub started running a perimeter of a hand pump keg.
And then we think about, we better put some restrooms in there.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's like, here we go. Bring over the gators. Pop a couple of those toilets on there,
right?
Because they can't leave the enclosure. Yeah, it took longer, a little bit longer than we expected, but not by too much. But it definitely was. Everyone was really excited. It was fun.
That's hilarious. That's so funny.
There is a video on YouTube of a sped up progression of the whole thing. So
okay, that's something I'll have to go in the show notes as well. I have to make sure that's linked in there. So we got the music, we got the wine. What else is going on? As if that weren't enough. What else do you guys do?
And the band, and then we're both lords in the Order of Leviathan, which is
nice.
Now an international thing, right? Because now we have a new lord from England. I believe, who was just in.
Well, we had Klaus. He's German. He's already.
Klaus is German. That's right.
So we've been international. I'm first generation American.
Right. So.
From the Caribbean islands.
I don't know how to explain. What's the Order of Leviathan? You better explain.
It's just it's kind of an honorary society, as it were. It was started by, originally it was a pirate magazine, and that kind of kicked off the idea of it, and it since has become its own entity. Basically, they started by having an electoral period where they brought in, everyone submitted wotes on who would acknowledgeably be the Devil's Dozen, the 13 most influential pirates in the country, of which Kate is one of those. She was the first year inductee among a couple other people in the Northwest, but came from all over the country. Yeah. And so people submitted votes. There was public voting, and then there was a whole vote off. And then, so anyways, so they've done it since. Every other year they do a voting. The second round I got in. Nice. So I'm not a Devil's Dozen, but a Leviathan. And we just had the fourth, right? We just had the fourth nomination. Then next year will be the induction, because you do everyone gets nominated in over the course of a year, and then the next year they set up the induction ceremony, and somewhere in the country all the pirates will gather.
Right. The first one was in Fells Point, Maryland, and we all went on the Bounty.
No, they got to go on the Bounty.
Yeah.
Well, you were there, but you weren't allowed on. No. So, but we went on, and
I was a lowly deckhand.
And then the Bounty, that's the ship that actually sank.
Yeah, that actual ship is now sunk.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm starting to think there's some kind of curse with.
No, stop it.
You're not allowed.
Yeah, no ships for you. No ships for you. Oh, no, come on, the Christmas ships. His boat's still floating. They
always said women were bad luck on ships. That's why.
Dang.
It's true. It's true.
Wow. See.
That's right. They weren't supposed to.
And I'm in an all-female crew. This cannot be good.
And Bonnie, that was actually dressed like a man. Maybe there's no curse that way.
No, they made
me
dress like a girl. That's the problem with the all-girl crew.
Funny. So where is the best place online for everybody to keep track of all the stuff you're doing?
Oh, boy. Well, Margot Productions is kind of the overall business for the wine and the band. You can find the ship on there, too, and videos. We did take the ship out after that, and we were the flagship for the Sail for the Cure. Okay. And we managed to raise a lot of money for lymphoma leukemia society that year, and that was our last big outing, and we knew she was still sinking, but we actually sailed that day.
Yes, actually sailed.
Our first time sailing and our last time sailing. We said that day, this may be our only trip, since the crushing, but at least we will have made this one, and it was a good event for Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. I guess I said that wrong before, but
that's great.
So Margot Productions. You can find us, and if you look up any of those, if you look up Royal East, which is the ship, or Seven Sails Vineyard, or Bilge Rats and Pyrettes, it'll all lead you to Margot Productions, where you find all three.
Good. I'll link all that up in the show notes. And Google is your friend. So Google any of those. Well, great. Is there anything I didn't ask you guys about you want everybody to know?
No, I don't think so. Can we think of anything?
Our wine is pretty good.
Our wine is good. Yeah. Yeah. Check out our YouTube. We need YouTube followers.
Yeah, we do. Subscribe to the YouTube. Check out our videos. We have
some fun videos.
All kinds of stuff.
Okay, good. I'll make sure to link up some of those videos in the show notes so everybody can check them out, and that'll be fun. Fantastic. Well, you guys, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
We're looking forward to catching your show.
Coming and talking to us.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Thanks. And there it is, friends. That was my interview with Kate Larsen and Shuhe Hawkins of Seven Sails Winery and the Portland Pirate Festival and all that other stuff we talked about in there. You can find out more about them at margotproductions.com. Margot is M-A-R-G-O-T, like the name, Margot Productions. And that's where they got all their stuff about the winery and the festival and the ship and all my music and all. Just go there, and it's all there. And, of course, you'll be able to see more videos and links and all that kind of good stuff at the show notes at underthecrossbones.com/101. Got a sponsor on the show today. Look, I'll tell you, as a musician myself, one thing that's always tough to find is a good teacher for low-frequency instruments. Like my girlfriend was a bass player for a lot of years, and she always had trouble finding bass teachers. And I teach bass, but I'm really a guitar player. But to have a really good bass teacher is amazing. And if you happen to be in the realm of Houston, Texas, and you want to learn how to play one of those low bassy instruments, I have a suggestion for you. Jonathan Leon is a longtime listener to Under the Crossbones, and he's starting a new lesson studio to teach electric and upright bass, tuba, and piano, because everybody's got to teach piano, and it's called Making Great Music. And the dude's got chops, man. He's a musician for 25 years. He's played in the pit for like 19 musicals. I think I've only played in like 3 musicals. He studied with Victor Wooten. If you don't know who Victor Wooten is, go Google that name, and your mind will be blown by bassiness. You need some bass in your life, and you need some tuba, because honestly, who doesn't want to learn how to play the tuba? That is an amazingly awesome instrument. Bo, 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 bo. Everybody wants to learn the tuba. Nobody wants to carry a tuba, but everybody wants to learn how to play one sitting down in one place. He accepts adults and kids. Everybody's welcome. And Jonathan's a fellow pirate, so we are keeping the game in the family here. Get your music lessons on bass and electric and acoustic, and tuba and piano from Jonathan Leon. And to get more info and to get set up with some time with Jonathan, go to underthecrossbones.com/makinggreatmusic. Again, that's underthecrossbones.com/makinggreatmusic. We're also sponsored today, of course, by Pirate Radio of the Treasure Coast, WKKC-DB, playing the best music in pirate radio talk. You can listen to Under the Crossbones on both their stations. Just go to pirateradioofthetreasurecoast.com or pirateradiotc.com. And don't forget to download the apps. That's the Pirate Radio Treasure Coast app, which is their music station, and the Pirate Radio Talk, which is their talk station. And if you're listening on Pirate Radio right now, welcome. Hello. Thanks for listening. All right, we're going to, there's a music act we just talked to, right? They do music, so we're going to hear a song, because that's what we do on this show when we talk to music acts, is we play you some music. There was way more explanation than that needed. We're going to hear Cape Cod Blues by the Pyrettes. Fun song. You're going to hear Kate on the lead vocals on this one, so we're going to get to that in a second. I got a free ebook for you before we get there. Alexander Exquemelin's Pirates of Panama or Buccaneers of America, originally published in 1678. So, man, golden age right there. He was a doctor, this Alexander Exquemelin guy. He was a doctor, and he ended up on pirate ships, and he wrote about it. So it's firsthand knowledge. One of the seminal texts of pirate history, and it's all for you for free. I got a nice PDF copy of it for you, and you can do that by going to underthecrossbones.com and clicking on the free ebook button right there. Or if you're out and about and all you got your phone, just text the word pirate and your email address to 94253. Text the word pirate and your email address to 94253. And if you need to get in touch with me for anything, maybe you want to send me a little trip report about a festival you've been to or a pirate band you saw and you want me to play it on the show if it's a cool story and that kind of thing, you can give me a call at 408-599-2733. 408-599-2733. That is my Google Voice line, so you can just leave me a voicemail there. I don't generally pick it up. Because it's a regular phone. And then I'll just get your voicemail later and play it on the show. How awesome is that? All right, let's dig in. We got to hear some music. I'm in the mood for some music. So let's hear Cape Cod Blues by the Pyrettes. Dig it.
Heave away, my bully, bully boys. Heave away, haul away. Heave away, now don't you make no noise. We're bound for South Australia. Cape Cod girls don't got no calls. They comb their hair with codfish balls. Cape Cod kids don't use no sleds. They slide downhill on codfish hats. Cape Cod ladies don't bake no pies. They feed their babies on codfish eyes. Cape Cod papas don't leave no wills. They leave the children those codfish gills. Oh, heave away, my bully, bully boys. Heave away, haul away. Heave away, now don't you make no noise. We're bound for South Australia. Heave away, my bully, bully boys. Heave away, haul away. Heave away, but don't you make no noise. We're bound for South Australia. Cape Cod girls don't got no frills. They're just as skinny as codfish gills. Cape Cod cats don't have no tails. They lost them all in northeast gales. Cape Cod men don't have no sails. They sail their boats with codfish tails. Cape Cod babies don't have no pills. They pin their diapers with codfish fins. No sleds, they slide down hills on codfish hats. Cape Cod ladies don't bake no pies, they feed their babies on codfish eyes. Cape Cod papas don't leave no wills, they leave the children those codfish gills. Oh, heave away my burly body boys, heave away. Don't you make no noise, we're bound for South Australia. We're bound for South Australia. We're bound for South Australia.
And that's our show for today, friends. Thank you for tuning in. Again, if you want to hear more about what Kate and Shuhe are doing with festivals and music and wine and ships and all that good piratey stuff, go to margotproductions.com. Margot, M-A-R-G-O-T productions.com. And of course, I'll have lots of details and videos, links, and all sorts of good stuff for you on the show notes at underthecrossbones.com/101. Don't forget the tour dates. I know I don't even, sort of like bring up my actual material, my comedy stuff on the show very often, because I imagine a lot of you don't care or don't want to hear it. But if you are curious about what I do in my comedy shows and you would like to potentially come out and see a tour date, just go Google Phil Johnson Comedy and on YouTube or in Google, just search Phil Johnson Comedy. Lots of my stuff will pop up and you can check it out there. I don't need to push it on you. We have lots of amazing episodes coming up on Under the Crossbones. Next week, we're going to talk with John Davidson, who you may remember from TV and such things. Right now, he's playing Captain Hook in the touring company Finding Neverland, so we're going to talk with him. We're going to hear from Richard Zacks, who's the author of Pirate Hunter, the true story of Captain Kidd and the Pirate Coast, and lots of other cool books. We're going to talk to Dr. E. Lee Spence, who is a shipwreck expert and treasure hunter. That's a good one. We're going to talk with David McGee, who is the screenwriter of the film version, the original film of Finding Neverland, the one starring Johnny Depp, which came before and after Pirates of the Caribbean. He'll tell that story. So lots of really cool, amazing episodes coming up. So stay tuned. Make sure that you're subscribed through your favorite podcatcher. And like I said, spread the word. That helps a whole bunch, right? Tell your pirate friends about the cool little pirate show that's happening right here. Again, I'm your host, Phil Johnson. I'll see you next week. Thank you.